Hey everyone, welcome back. Sony leads the mirrorless camera market with a huge range of lenses for every style and budget. From affordable everyday lenses to premium G Master glass with incredible sharpness and bokeh, there's something for every photographer. I tested each lens for sharpness, autofocus, build quality, handling, and value. Today we're ranking the top 10 Sony lenses, from budget picks to pro-level options. Let's get into it. Starting at number 10, we have the Sony E70 to 350mm Bokeh f4.5 to 6.3 GOSS, my pick for the best Sony APS-C telephoto zoom lens. I absolutely love the Sony E70 to 350mm Bokeh f4.5 to 6.3 GOSS. It sports a 5x zoom range that equates to 105 to 525mm in full-frame terms, taking it into super telephoto territory, but with a comparatively compact and lightweight build. It doesn't have the world's most effective optical stabilizer, but you can still expect a great hit rate with sharp handheld shots, even at the longest zoom setting. Overall, this is a lens that's big on performance, but refreshingly small and lightweight for handheld shooting. It's at number 10 because a 5x zoom range equates to 105 to 525mm full frame. For an APS-C telephoto zoom, this is exceptional. At number 9, we've got the Sony FE 90mm f2.8 Macro GOSS, my pick for best Sony macro lens. There's a lot to love about this macro lens. I find that its minimum focus distance of 0.28 meters gives a very natural working distance for full 1.0 times, or 1:1 macro magnification. Beautifully built, this lens has upmarket handling attractions, including a customizable focus hold button, an autofocus range limiter switch, and optical steady shot. I find that image quality is very good in all respects, with excellent sharpness even wide open at f2.8, and the edges and corners catch up nicely when stopping down a little. It's at number 9 because of the 0.28 meters minimum focus distance for a natural working distance. For macro photography, this is beautifully built and sharp. At number 8, we have the Sony FE 35mm f1.4 G Master, my pick for best Sony lens for street photography. I tend to favor a 35mm prime lens for street photography, and this one is fast and extremely capable. It's a premium G Master option that gives a mix of an ultra-fast maximum aperture and a modest wide-angle focal length, making it a very versatile lens, not just for street photography, but also for anything from portraits and weddings to landscape and astrophotography. As you'd expect, it isn't cheap, but it impresses me with its spectacular optical performance. It's at number 8 because of the ultra-fast f1.4 maximum aperture, versatile 35mm focal length. For street photography and versatility, this G Master delivers. Coming in at number 7 is the Sony FE 12 to 24mm of 2.8 G Master, my pick for best Sony ultra-wide zoom lens. Completing the trinity of f2.8 constant aperture zooms, the FE 12 to 24mm f2.8 G Master hits the wide-angle spot. I love that this lens actually goes wider than many competitors, delivering a really extreme maximum field of view. Moreover, it maintains superb image quality and all-round performance throughout its entire zoom range, earning its G Master credentials. Even so, I wouldn't rule out the Sony FE 12 to 24mm f4G zoom, which gives the same ultra-wide viewing angles, but is an f-stop slower. It's at number 7 because it goes wider than many competitors. For ultra-wide photography, this completes the trinity. At number 6, we've got the Sony FE 200 to 600mm f5.6 to 6.3 GOSS, my pick for best Sony super telephoto zoom lens. Fast super telephoto lenses for full-frame cameras are always expensive, but I like that the more modest aperture rating of the Sony FE 200 to 600mm f5.6 to 6.3 GOSS makes it relatively affordable. It's naturally pretty big and heavy, but entirely viable for handheld shooting, helped along by effective optical steady shot. I'm also impressed by the fast autofocus system, which is adept at tracking fast-paced action in action, sports, and wildlife photography, for which the lens is ideal. It's at number 6 because a modest f5.6 to 6.3 aperture makes it relatively affordable. For super telephoto zoom, this delivers wow factor at an accessible price. Number 5 brings us the Sony FE 135mm f1.8 GM, my pick for best Sony portrait lens. While the Sony FE 85mm f1.4 GM2 will be seen as the most ideal portrait lens by many, I find that this 135mm version gets me closer to my sitter while maintaining a natural shooting distance, thus working really well for close-up portraits and any other shooting scenario that calls for impeccable image quality at this focal length. The high-grade optical path includes XA extreme aspherical, Super ED, and regular ED elements, along with an 11-blade diaphragm that maintains a particularly well-rounded aperture when stopping down a bit. It's at number 5 because a 135mm focal length gets closer while maintaining a natural shooting distance. For portrait photography, this G Master is exceptional. At number 4, we have the Sony E16 to 55mm EE f2.8G, my pick for the best Sony APS-C standard zoom lens. There is an older Sony Vario Tessar TE 16 to 70mm f4ZAOSS, which is cheaper and lighter than this lens and has optical stabilization, but the maximum aperture is f4. So the new Sony E16 to 55mm f2.8G is, I think, the best standard zoom for Sony APS-C cameras. It delivers sumptuous image quality with fabulous sharpness and contrast, along with pleasant bokeh. Handling is very refined, with the addition of a customizable focus hold button, strong build quality, and weather seals. It's at number 4 because of the f2.8 maximum aperture. For APS-C standard zoom, this is the best choice. Coming in at number 3 is the Sony FE70 to 200mm f2.8 Master OSS, my pick for best Sony telephoto zoom lens. I've always found a 70 to 200mm f2.8 lens to be arguably the most essential zoom, even for those that generally shoot with primes, and the Sony FE70 to 200mm f2.8G Master OSS is a seriously top-flight option. I'm impressed that the feast of glass includes a double-sided XA extreme aspherical element, 2 other aspherical elements, 4 ED extra low dispersion elements, and 2 Super ED elements. Handling is refined with an autofocus range limiter, customizable focus hold buttons, and dual-mode stabilization for static and panning shots. It's at number 3 because it's arguably the most essential zoom even for prime shooters. For telephoto zoom, this G Master is top flight. At number 2, we have the Sony FE 50mm f1.4 GM, my pick for best Sony standard prime lens. I always think that a nifty 50 is an essential piece of kit. The Sony FE 50mm f1.4 is the lens that is most suited to most Sony shooters who love the natural perspective of a 50mm prime. Impressively light and compact, but not compromising one bit on optical quality, I find this lens pretty much perfect when it comes to center sharpness and holds up very well towards the edges of the frame. If you don't really feel the need for the even faster aperture, added size, weight, and considerable extra cost of the Sony FE 50mm f1.2 G Master, then this FE 50mm f1.4 is the one to go for. It's at number 2 because the nifty 50 is essential for most Sony shooters. And finally, at number 1 is the Sony FE 24 to 70mm ICF 2.8 GM2. This is the best Sony standard zoom lens. The FE 24 to 70mm f2.8 GM2 is one of the finest examples of the Trinity 24 to 70mm of 2.8 breed. I really like its sturdy, weather-sealed build quality and handling characteristics with its customizable focus, hold function button and switches for AF/MF and zoom lock. The lens is packed with high-tech, high-precision optical elements, and I love that autofocus is blazing fast for stills and provides smooth and near-silent autofocus transitions during movie capture. It's at number 1 because it delivers nearly the same performance as the flagship FE 28 to 70mm f2 GM at a considerably cheaper price. For most Sony shooters, the 24 to 70mm GM2 is simply the smarter choice. Alright, that's the top 10 Sony lenses of 2026, tested and ranked. If this guide helped, drop a comment, like, and subscribe for more honest camera gear reviews. Thanks for watching. Get out there and shoot, and I'll see you in the next one.